Welcome back. Summer's here, school's out, but that doesn't mean it's not important to keep your kids engaged in learning this summer. Nor does it mean that learning should just be focused on academics either. My guest, James Rayford, has spent his entire career helping kids learn. He's the director of academic support for Gwinnett County Public Schools. James is responsible for the development and implementation of the school system's community-based mentoring program. He is also a former elementary and middle school principal. Our other special guest is Luis Negron. He's the senior director, of education at United Way of Greater Atlanta. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So school is out and kids are ready to take a break. They want to put the books away and everything else. But what happens in the summer to the skills that they learned in schools, the things they learned in school, if they somehow don't continue to learn during that summer?
Well, we here in Gwinnett County Public Schools, we encourage our students to take summer classes. We also provide summer camps. And along with our community-based mentoring program, we're going to be having a one-week summer camp for our students that's going to focus on mathematics, language arts, entrepreneurship, financial literacy. So we want to keep those students engaged so that they don't lose those skills when they go back to school in August.
I've heard something called summer learning loss. Can you explain what that is to the audience?
Summer learning loss, or you mean the summer leadership program?
Well, when kids sort of have their skills sort of diminished during the summer.
It's because when they are not able to read every day, when they're not focused on their learning, it seems like when students they don't have a textbook or they don't read every day, they kind of lose those skills.
Gotcha. So when I was a kid, we'd have all kinds of summer programs. We'd spend a little bit of time doing some academic stuff, but we also had cultural exposure, visit museums and those kinds of things. How important is that for kids during the summer, and what are you guys doing in that regard?
Sure, it's extremely important that students have an opportunity to develop those social skills, if you will, take those field trips. And with our community-based mentoring program, we've been focusing a lot on some of the enrichment type things that kids can use that are not just the academics. For instance, we take them on field trips. They've visited Georgia Gwinnett College. We've had what we call a career summit, where we bring in professionals, men who are educated, to come in and talk about various careers. So again, so the students can understand those soft skills on what it's going to take to be successful. And this year, during our summer camp, we're actually going to have a field trip to one of the Civil Rights Museum and or a music studio. So again, the students can see how mathematics, science is all used in those fields.
That's great. Now, you've mentioned the mentoring program twice. Yes. Say a little bit, what's the origin of it? What's it designed to do?
Well, I'm really excited about Gwinnett County's community-based mentoring program. We're in our 7th year, and it was started with our CEO and Board of Education said, you know what, we realized that many of our young men are struggling outside of school, so we need to get men involved to serve as role models and mentors. So 7 years ago, the school system came up with the community-based mentoring program, and it has very much a model similar to Big Brother, Big Sister, where a mentor goes in, they get all the training, they undergo background checks, and they are matched up with students based on their similar interests. And we ask them to make a one-year commitment, but however, we do have mentors who stay with students 4 and 5 years.
You said a little bit about some of the young men were struggling. What kind of struggles were they having?
Just academic struggles. Some of the challenges that students may be facing, they feel like they're not engaged in school. If they're lacking some academic skills, so students tend to act out when they don't have the skill set and knowledge. So we try to come along and bring them aside and find out what their strengths are and help them to give them that encouragement. While our mentors are not necessarily mentors or tutors, but they do provide encouragement for those sports and help them to navigate that system of being successful.
So what's a typical student look like, and what's a typical mentor look like?
Good question. A typical student, we started in just middle school, but now we've expanded to elementary and high school. But a typical student is going to be an average middle school student, maybe a B or C student, someone who may get a little trouble, but not necessarily a lot of trouble, but just someone who just trying to find his way. He doesn't know what his strengths are. He's not sure what he wants to be in life just yet, other than what he sees on television. So that mentor is trying to come in and just give him some guidance. The average age of our mentor is about 38 to 40 years old. They all have to undergo a background check, and these are men, they come from various walks of life. We have mentors who are work in the clergy, they come from fraternities, they are actually businessmen, volunteers from our schools, so they have all walks of life.
So what's a success story? What would inspire our audience to hear?
Very good. Well, I have several here, but I'm going to try to just give you one.
Okay.
One in particular, a student that we just held our end of the year celebration dinner last Wednesday, and this student was highlighted. We had a student, he spent 2 years in middle school, so he is retained, and he was one of those students that was just looking for an outlet, but he didn't have no direction. They moved down here from New Jersey, and so we paired him up with a mentor, and this mentor just happened to be a small entrepreneur, a small business owner, and this was what that student was looking for, because this mentor took the student under his wings, showed him about how to do a job, importance of work ethic, and the student finally able to earn some money.
Doesn't get better than that.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Luis, I think most people don't really understand the power of a caring adult in the life of a child. What's the role that United Way's played in this mentoring program?
Well, we've been able to partner with James Rayford in Gwinnett County, and we're grateful for the partnership for the last 2 years. It came to our attention when Mr. Rayford reached out to me and I did a site tour, and we saw the impact that he had, especially with the mentors, and we saw the attention that he gave and the program gave. And what was unique to us was that this mentoring program was the first in the state of Georgia that actually was started by a school system.
Okay.
So it's not an outside community-based organization coming in. This was the actual idea came from within the school system. They identified Mr. Rayford. It is supported from the Board of Education down to the superintendent and the teachers and the principals. And that to us is what made it impactful. And along with that was that we saw that the students really wanted to be in this program. So that was a difference that we saw. And it was a diverse group of young men. It just didn't concentrate on one school, but it concentrated on the variety of schools to match the diversity of the changing state of Georgia.
What other things are you involved in through United Way in the summer? What other kinds of summer educational programs do you have engagement with?
Well, we have several. One of the ones I can highlight right now is that we're working with PACE Academy and Youth on the Move, where they take young people from the Peoplestown area, Vine City area, and they actually do a 6-week program, academic enrichment, reading proficiency, and math proficiency there. Another one is through our partners, community-based partners like the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club, where they have their summer programs that are allowed for young people in the different communities, especially within our 13-county region, again, for that summer learning. And for the summer learning losses, the RAND Corporation definitely states that if a student does not go to a program, they lose up to at least 1 month to 2 months of education. And when they come back, they're that far behind. So our programs will make an impact on our community. And thank you for Mr. Rayford and our community-based partners to be able to have that out there, because that academic support, especially for boys, is not more in math, but it's more in reading, in the reading level that they have, the proficiency that they have there.
Well, let me ask you to just emphasize that point again about what you can lose during the summer. So say some more about that.
Yes. So it's, again, the RAND Corporation, the WISE Corporation have shared in their statistics to say that if a student does not have a reading program or a math program, or the support during the program, because the other support is the parent has to also agree to go and let the student be involved. But it's important that they have the wraparound services, I would say again, the program, a mentoring program, or a program that they're in, that they will encourage the reading, encourage the mathematical attainment and the writing. That will help them in maintaining that, and then they will also come back not only on time and with the skill sets that they need to have the confidence. A lot of it is confidence levels that we find in our research, but it's important again to have that attainment to bridge them through that summertime to retain and maintain the information.
So what do we do for boys, and what do we do for girls? I don't want the audience to think this is just about boys. How do you make sure you can engage boys and girls in these kinds of programs when their nature might be to shut down? Luis?
Well, I know some of the things that we do, our community-based partners, the incentives that they have. So the incentives that they teach them how to swim, they engage them in the arts, they engage them in field trips like Mr. Rayford shared with us. Again, is to have an exposure for those young people they may not have also. And also through the wonderful generosity of our Tocqueville member societies and people that give to us, sometimes scholarships are offered for young people to go free of charge. So those are also incentives to help the families and the young students to have that exposure and to have the opportunity to learn and retain during the summer.
So James, you've been an elementary and a middle school principal. What advice would you give to parents about how you can help kids, maybe as early as preschool age, develop a real love of learning and a commitment to their academic life?
The one thing I would encourage parents to do is to be consistent. even during the summer, develop a certain time where you're going to focus on reading, where you're going to focus on math, where you're going to just focus on those soft skills. I would also encourage parents, make it fun, make the learning fun. There's nothing wrong with letting students read comic books or find out what their interests are, as opposed to just trying to force them to read certain type of materials. But let them have a say in what they're going to read, and then you can kind of monitor that. But I would definitely say find a designated time and have them do something every single day, even if it's only 15 minutes.
What would you add to that, Luis?
I would say definitely if it could become a family engagement opportunity, that the parents could be engaged, because sometimes what we have found also is that parents also need the help and support.
Correct.
But if it's fun and the parents are engaged, the students are definitely engaged with that, and the community learns, the family learns, and I definitely encourage that with that. Thank you.
There are a lot of parents out there who really want to do this, but they may be working 2, 3 jobs. What advice would you give them? Is there perhaps a family friend or a relative, somebody else who can help take some of that responsibility, Luis?
Yes, what I have found definitely friends and families. So it could be a grandmother, it could be an aunt or uncle, somebody who is a trusted person within the family to be there to support them and to also encourage that. And again, it's to make it fun. And like James said, Mr. Rayford said, it's not to make it a hard read, but something that someone can enjoy. A comic book be easy. That's how I learned to read, as a bilingual student, was definitely I use comic books to help me learn English. So if I could do it, definitely it has to be something that they could share and learn to do themselves, yes.
James, Luis, thanks very much for sharing the information that you did. If you want to learn more about the mentoring program in Gwinnett, visit the link at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to find out more about what United Way is doing to help students throughout the year, go to our website, unitedwayatlanta.org. At United Way, we believe one of the best ways to determine whether a community is thriving or will thrive in the future is to look at how its children are faring. So that's why it's so critical to make sure that they become interested in learning at the youngest age possible. When that happens, our kids are more likely to graduate. They're more likely to get a good paying job that allows them to keep a roof over their heads. They're more likely to live healthy lives because they are able to afford preventative care. And when that happens on a grand scale, our entire community thrives. In addition, kids who enjoy learning become adults who enjoy learning, and they pass that love along from generation to generation. If you have any comments about today's show, or you want to share ideas for upcoming shows, email us at liveunited@unitedwayatlanta.org. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.